Hey everyone, welcome back to Damn Tasty Vegan. It's your friend Maria Rose. Today I have this mind-blowingly good peanut tofu quinoa Buddha bowl recipe for you. If you're new to cooking tofu, this peanut tofu is gonna blow your mind. Now I'll be honest, I kind of hate making Buddha bowls and grain bowls because of all of the dishes involved, how there's something in the oven and there's something on the stovetop and then there's something in the pressure cooker. Kind of annoys me. So if I'm gonna make a bowl like this, then I'm gonna make it worth my while and I'm gonna make a big batch of it to meal prep for the week. With this recipe, I also found ways to kind of minimize the amounts of pots and pans that you use. If you're ready to learn how to make this damn tasty recipe, let's hang out for a little bit and I'll show you how. So it's really important to press the tofu because it gets the excess liquid out of the tofu and it'll make it a lot more crispy. And it also makes it so that it has room to soak up this delicious sauce that we're gonna make. So if you don't have a tofu press, that's totally fine. Just wrap it up in like a paper towel or a dish rag and put some heavy books or some pans on it for about 15 minutes. All right, now we're gonna peel our sweet potatoes. I use about 2 kind of medium-ish, large-ish sweet potatoes. Because like I said, if I'm gonna make a bunch of stuff, I'm gonna make a big batch and I'm gonna meal prep it for the week. So make sure they're all about the same size. To add some color and a little bit of sweetness to this, I just kind of quartered up some red onions as well. It tastes so amazing when you bake red onions. And now for our flavoring for these sweet potatoes, we have curry powder, garlic powder, cinnamon, and salt, about a teaspoon of each. And then just make sure you mix it up so you don't get like curry powder on all in one potato and like cinnamon all on the other potato. So to get the spices to stick, just put some oil on your potatoes and onions. I just use like this avocado oil spray. It's supposed to be able to handle higher heat better. And just make sure you mix everything up well so that the potatoes are covered evenly with the spices. And then we're just gonna put it on our nonstick baking tray. Make sure that the potatoes aren't crowded because we want them to bake and crisp up and we don't want them to just steam. If they're too close together, they'll just steam, so give them enough room. And after our tofu is pressed, we're gonna cut it into cubes. The tofu and the sweet potatoes are gonna go in the oven at the same time. So to make the tofu extra crispy, we are going to bake it just as it is, just plain. You can add some soy sauce here if you want a little more flavor to it. But we're gonna bake these sweet potatoes and the tofu together. Pre-baking the tofu like this makes it a little bit more crispy. It dries it out a little bit. And so we're gonna bake it at 400 degrees for 25 minutes. We're gonna come back to that in a minute. Now make sure you rinse your quinoa. This is no exceptions here. It will make it a lot more delicious. Quinoa has a bitter taste if you don't rinse it. So get a fine mesh strainer, make sure you rinse that. And you can cook quinoa in a rice cooker or a pressure cooker. I love to cook it this way because then you don't even have to think about it. If you cook it in a pressure cooker, make sure that you look at your instructions because it does require a little less water. If you cook it in a rice cooker, it requires the same amount, like 2 to 1 with the liquid. And it's always good to add a little bit more flavor. I like to add, veggie bouillon or some salt in with my quinoa. If you're using another type of rice cooker, just choose the option for white rice because it cooks about the same. So to make less of a mess, we're going to cook the kale in with the quinoa. After the quinoa is all done, the quinoa is super hot and steamy at this point, and we're just gonna open the lid, turn it off, and then shut the lid back on it. The kale will cook super quickly. Now it's time to make the peanut sauce. I ended up using a 1/4 cup of peanut butter. I started with 2 tablespoons and was like, this isn't enough. So I used about a 1/4 cup of runny peanut butter, a 1/4 cup of soy sauce, 1/4 cup of maple syrup. This will make it nice and sticky and delicious and caramelized when it bakes. But probably a tablespoon of lemon or lime juice. You can also use vinegar if you don't have that. A teaspoon of sesame oil. And I also had some ginger garlic paste on hand. If you don't have this on hand, it's totally okay. You can just keep it out, or you can chop up some ginger and garlic, maybe about a half a teaspoon of each. Just make sure this is all stirred up really well. And after our tofu has been baking for about 25 minutes, see how lovely and crispy it makes it? Now it's completely ready to soak up the sauce. So a good thing to do is to take this out of the pan and put it in like a bowl. I was feeling kind of lazy, so I just did it in my little pan here. But It's good to let this marinate for at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes if you can. So while we're doing this, the sweet potatoes are still baking in the oven because I like my sweet potatoes nice and crispy. So we're just kind of gonna put the sauce on the tofu, and like I said, let this marinate for at least 5 minutes or so, more if you can, but 5 minutes will do the trick. Make sure you don't use all of the sauce. We're gonna save some of the sauce to pour over the tofu at the very end and to pour over the Buddha bowl. So make sure each piece is nice and evenly coated, and after it's done, then you're just gonna pop it back in the oven for another 10 minutes or so. And at this point, it should be a total of 45 minutes of the sweet potatoes baking in the oven. And the tofu got 25 minutes initially, and then another 10 minutes after. And this is what it looks like after the 10 minutes in the oven after putting the sauce on it, and it is so good. If you let the tofu sit for a few minutes, it crisps up a little more. So that extra sauce that I was talking about, we're just gonna put it on the oven and kind of cook it for a little bit until it starts to thicken up just slightly. So we're gonna use this to pour over the tofu again, or just kind of pour over the whole bowl. And this sauce is what makes this bowl so delicious. So the peanut butter mixed with like the cinnamon on the sweet potato and the garlic and onion. Oh, it's just this incredible flavor combination. Super healthy, high in protein, absolutely delicious. The full recipe is on my blog if you want this to be printed out. Oh, I also forgot to mention, if you can't see, obviously, you have some red kidney beans on there. Just drain and rinse some kidney beans. So there you go. Here's this healthy, delicious vegan meal idea. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me any questions or comments you have below, and I'll see you all very soon in the next video.